Hey, I'm Brian. I'm excited to be here today writing and talking about writing with you. So, I am a writer and a writing teacher, and most of what I write is memoir. So, true stories about my life or others' lives. My first book, Going Somewhere, was about a cross country bicycle trip that I took about 10 years ago from Wisconsin, where I grew up, to Portland to here. That trip took me about 2 months, and the book took about 5 years to write. My next book, which will come out in 2021, is called This Is Not For You, and it was written in collaboration with Richard Brown, pictured there, an 81-year-old activist and photographer who has spent decades doing community work on behalf of Portland's Black community. So we wrote that book together. That isn't actually the cover. We don't have a cover yet, but that's a picture of Mr. Brown, who's just a wonderful man, and I hope you get to read his story. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to write about where we come from. And we're going to think really broadly about that too, because we all come from a lot of places. We come from our hometowns. We come from the houses we're in right now. We come from the secret swimming hole that nobody else besides us knows about. And we come also from a lot more than just places. We come from our families. We come from how we spend our Friday nights. We come from the books that we read and the music we listen to and the ideas that are in our heads all the time. So to get started, we're going to do a quick free write together. And the idea with a free write is really simple. I'll just give you a prompt and I'll let you know how long you can write for. And then for that whole time, you just want to keep writing. Don't worry if you can't think of anything to write. You can just write, I can't think of what to write. Or or whatever comes to mind. Just keep your pen moving or keep your fingers moving on the keyboard until you've come to something else that you want to say. So those of you who tune in for the first lesson will remember that we wrote something called a list essay. And a list essay is really just what it sounds like. It is an essay or a piece of writing that's written as a list, as a sequence, often with that same beginning sentence repeating over and over. So today we're going to do another quick list essay, and we'll write to the prompt, I come from. So again, the idea here is to just write as many sentences as you can that begin with, I come from. And remember, like I was saying just a minute ago, to think really broadly about what that means, about what it can mean to come from somewhere or something or someone. Okay, so you can do this on the worksheet or you can just do it with paper and pencil. Just hit pause on the video and then you'll write for about 5 minutes. I'll just wait here. Okay, so we're gonna write to I come from. Ready? Go. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. So like I said, we're gonna spend today writing about place, about where we come from, and also about how we felt in the places that we come from. And I've got some writing I'd like to share with you to help you start thinking about that. It's by a writer named Roxane Gay. So Roxane Gay is a bisexual Haitian American writer. She was born in Omaha, Nebraska. Roxane Gay has written memoir and essays and short stories and a novel and a Marvel comic series and a whole bunch of other things that I'm not even listing here. And also her Twitter feed is just amazing. So she's just a great writer, really prolific, and I like her stuff a lot. So we're going to read an excerpt of a really short essay of hers called Black in Middle America. So here we go. This is an excerpt from Black in Middle America by Roxane Gay. I spent 5 years in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, a place I didn't even know existed until I moved there to attend graduate school. I lived in a town of 4,000 people. The next town over the Portage Bridge, had 7,000 people. In my town, the street signs were in both English and Finnish because the town had the highest concentration of Finns outside of Finland. We were so far north that my blackness was more curiosity than threat. I was a woman out of place, but I did not always feel unsafe. There were the abandoned copper mines and the vast majesty of Lake Superior and so much forest cloaking everything. During fall, deer hunting, so much venison. The winters were endless, snow in unfathomable quantities, the aching whine of snowmobiles. There was loneliness. There were my friends who made the isolation bearable. There was a man who made everything beautiful. What I cannot forget is my landlady, who rented my apartment to me over the phone and who, when she first met me, told me I didn't sound like a colored girl. So this piece really moves me for a lot of reasons. First of all, I grew up really close to the Upper Peninsula. I grew up white, very close to the Upper Peninsula, to this area, and so I have a very different perspective on the place. And it was so valuable to me to be able to hear Roxane Gay write about this place that I consider home, and it feels like a different home to me. And in terms of how she writes this, one thing that you might notice right away as you look back is there isn't a ton of flowery, detailed writing about place. Often when we talk about writing place, it'll be about the descriptions and the sensory language and making sure that we can see and smell and hear and taste and touch it. And that's all really important. But there are other things you can do with place too. So you'll see here that Roxane Gay, she does tell us about the snow, right? And deer and the snowmobiles, but she only includes those details to tell us about herself. You know, it reminds me of there's this writer, Dorothy Allison, really great writer. And she's got an essay that is about place. And in that essay, she said, among many other things, place is emotion. And yeah, that's just always stuck with me, you know? She said that in writing, she only really cares about place if she understands how that place makes the writer and the person in the story feel. And again, here in Roxane Gay's essay, we get a ton of that. We get the aching whine of snowmobiles. We get Roxane Gay telling us about loneliness, about her Blackness being a curiosity here rather than a threat, and about how she did not always feel unsafe. Use that word always. And again, she never lets us forget that she's not just writing about the Upper Peninsula. This isn't just your standard supposedly objective report on the Upper Peninsula. This is about being Black in the Upper Peninsula. Not about being a woman or being queer or being a writer in the Upper Peninsula. It is about being Black in particular. And that's where the story and the tension really comes from here. From Roxane Gay taking one slice of herself and setting it against one particular place. Okay, so we are going to try to do the same thing that Roxane Gay did in that essay. We're going to write about being a particular person in a particular place. I want you to think about all the different things that you are, all the different words that make up your identity. Roxane Gay might say that she is Black, that she's queer, that she's a woman, that she is living in a larger body, for starters. And I want you to think a little bit about yourself. What words would you use to describe your identities? Take just a minute to make a list. You can go ahead right now. Just pause the video for a minute or two and write a list, again, of words to describe your identities, different words that can describe who you are. All right, take a minute and then come back. Okay, now that you've got your list, I want you to think back for a second on that first exercise that we did today. The one where we talked about where we come from. I want you to choose a physical place from that list. Choose one that really, really stands out to you. And so now you have an identity, a slice of yourself, and a place. And what I want you to do now is write about being fill in the blank with that identity in fill in the blank with a place. So again, about being a certain sort of person in a certain sort of place. And if you'd like, you can use one of the prompts that I have at the bottom here. You can use, I spent a certain number of years, or what I cannot forget. Okay, so you're gonna have 10 minutes to write for this. And again, what you can do is just pause the video and get yourself started. And when you're all done, I'll be here. All right, so you have 10 minutes starting now. All right, I hope you got some good writing done. Before we finish up today, I've got just one more thing that I want to read to you. It's about place too, and about how place makes us feel. And the reading that I'm going to share, it's the introduction to a memoir called When I Was Puerto Rican by Esmeralda Santiago. So Esmeralda Santiago is a Puerto Rican author, a former actress, and an activist. In her work, and when I say her work, I mean her writing and her activist work, and just her life, focuses on women's and youth empowerment and on Puerto Rican identity. So I'm going to read an excerpt. It's a little bit longer than the Roxanne Gay one, but I promise it's really good. Okay, so this is an excerpt from When I Was Puerto Rican by Esmeralda Santiago. There are guavas at the shop and save. I pick one the size of a tennis ball and finger the prickly stem end. It feels familiarly bumpy and firm. The guava is not quite ripe. The skin is still a dark green. I smell it and imagine a pale pink center, the seeds tightly embedded in the flesh. A ripe guava is yellow, although some varieties have a pink tinge. The skin is thick, firm, and sweet. Its heart is bright pink and almost solid with seeds. The most delicious part of the guava surrounds the tiny seeds. If you don't know how to eat a guava, the seeds end up in the crevices between your teeth. When you bite into a ripe guava, your teeth must grip the bumpy surface and sink into the thick, edible skin without hitting the center. It takes experience to do this, as it's quite tricky to determine how far beyond the skin the seeds begin. As children, we didn't always wait for the fruit to ripen. We raided the bushes as soon as the guavas were large enough to bend the branch. A green guava is sour and hard. You bite into it at its widest point because it's easier to grasp with your teeth. You hear the skin, meat, and seeds crunching inside your head, while the inside of your mouth explodes in little spurts of sour. You grimace, your eyes water, and your cheeks disappear as your lips purse into a tight O. But you have another and another, enjoying the crunchy sounds, the acid taste, the gritty texture of the unripe center. At night, your mother makes you drink castor oil, which she says tastes better than a green guava. That's when you know for sure that you're a child and she has stopped being one. I had my last guava the day we left Puerto Rico. It was large and juicy, almost red in the center, and so fragrant that I didn't want to eat it because I would lose the smell. All the way to the airport, I scratched at it with my teeth, making little dents in the skin, chewing small pieces with my front teeth so that I could feel the texture against my tongue, the tiny pink pellets of sweet. Today, I stand before a stack of dark green guavas, each perfectly round and hard, each $1.59. The one in my hand is tempting. It smells faintly of late summer afternoons and hopscotch under the mango tree, but this is autumn in New York, and I'm no longer a child. The guava joins its sisters under the harsh fluorescent lights of the exotic fruit display. I push my cart away toward the apples and pears of my adulthood, their nearly seedless ripeness predictable and bittersweet. All right, so again, that was the introduction to When I Was Puerto Rican by Esmeralda Santiago. A few things really stand out to me in that piece of writing. First off, there is the sensory details. By the time this is over, I just want to bite into a guava so bad. And then there's how she uses that guava as a symbol for her entire childhood in Puerto Rico. The guava used to be for her such a thing of joy and wonder. And now when she sees it and picks it up in the supermarket, it's something foreign. She uses that word. It's in the exotic fruit display, right? It's something that feels far away from her. So what we're going to do now, this is just a bonus. If you'd like to write a little bit more about place, this is an opportunity for you to do that. What I'd like you to do is I want you to think about a time in your life that now feels really far away. Maybe it's when you were in middle school. Maybe it's when you liked a certain kind of music. Maybe when you lived in a different place. Really just think about that for a few seconds. Okay, so once you've got it, I want you to think about, once you have that time, think about a specific object from that time. Esmeralda Santiago uses a guava, but maybe for you it's a song that you listen to. Maybe it's a shirt that you wore. Maybe it's also a fruit that you like to eat. Okay, so your bonus exercise. is to write about the object that was important to you when you were, however you were, when you were a middle schooler, when you lived on the other side of town, whatever time in your life you chose. And what I want you to do is try to focus on that object and think about how you felt about it then and how you feel now. So you've got 10 minutes again to do this, and you can do it right now or you can do it afterward if you'd like. And you can begin, if you'd like, with when I was, and then focus on that object. All right, I want to thank you again for writing with me today. I really hope you'll join another one of these writing sessions, and I hope you'll consider submitting your writing for the anthology and coming to the reading, the virtual reading, which is going to be happening later this month, and where I'll be reading as well. And regardless, I really just hope that you keep writing and keep making art and keep getting your voice out there. You and your stories matter, and I really hope to hear them someday. Thanks again for being here.